welcome back to the channel. It's Nat. I am playing with the pink and main. That one is Snow One like you, but the main characters we're going to use today is Cozy Critters, and we're going to do a little bit of watercolor. This video is pretty much going to be, let's just go with the flow and get back into Inktense pencils, which are watercolor pencils. Well, sort of watercolor pencils. We'll explain that later. So it's been like a long time since I played with Inktense pencils. So there is going to be, it's not going to be a clear instruction on what I'm doing or what colors I'm doing, but hopefully it's of interest and a little bit different. So we're going to work with the flow and see what happens. So hopefully that I will get back into Inktense pencils and can explain a little bit more about it. I have stamped these images down with some VersaFine ink. This is waterproof. I've got quite a few masks. We're going to mask all three of them because we're going to do a bit of ink blending very shortly. The masking paper, I will just say, like, I think it was still, the ink was still wet, but you know, it's all good. I am going to remove this piece of mint tape because I don't need it. You're not going to see it, and we're going to hide that pretty well. The line, I should say. We're going to hide the line pretty well. And what you are going to see, you're going to know it's there and you're going to see it, but no one else is going to. So I have evergreen bough on the very bottom of my images. We're going to go up with a bit of faded jeans and finish off with some weathered wood. I keep bringing, this is the Concave Rectangles Die from Pink and May, and I keep bringing that in to just get an idea of how far I want to go up. And I just have to be careful of his little antlers, that they're not sticking down very well whatsoever. You know, have some more patience. Don't be like me. I keep saying this to people. Like, you get what's all on my channel. Give it a little bit longer. It is a watercolor paper. It has some tooth to it, so it doesn't hold really well, but give it half a chance by letting the ink dry. I've splattered that with a little bit of water and soaked it up, and once that is all sort of dried off, because it was only a tiny bit of water, I have this titanium ink that we've also splattered on a little bit. This is the part I like, lifting up and seeing all my creatures. The main Inktense pencils that I'm going to use are going to be Willow 1900 and the Saddle Brown. The bunny there is sort of the willow color. This is the willow color as well, but I'm going to go a lot more heavy-handed with him. But I am going to go back and forth a little bit with trying to relearn my Inktense pencils. So Inktense pencils are basically, they move with water, but they are a much stronger intensive color. But when they're dry, you can't lift them up. Unlike watercolor pencils, you can generally lift those up. All the watercolor pencils I have, you can generally lift those up and then move them a little bit more, or like these ones, they're really good for layering because they don't move. Saying that, you do have to be a little bit careful with what you do. So don't leave a long period of time, sorry, that's my phone, a long period of time to come back and re-ink, re-wet, and make sure that ink is moved a little bit more to where you actually want it. So with my bear, I mostly used or colored the pencils in the corners and then pulled it out. But you'll see with this one that I do a lot more of the whole bunny or the whole area that I want to use. A lot of these colors, the willow and the saddle brown, are very, very similar. I am going to give you a list of other colors. Now I will tell you now that my camera shut off while I was playing, so we are going to lose some of my coloring. Pretty much with my bear and in the really dark areas I'm going to use chocolate brown or dark chocolate. So the saddle brown and willow is very, very similar, so I'm trying to, that's where I'm going to add some more of the other colors in to make them stand out a little bit more. Am I successful? I'm not so sure, but I had fun doing it and enjoyed doing it. So yeah, you're going to see with this particular one, so I've coloured all of him, the whole area, rather than sort of the outer bits where I want darker, and then to take using the water to take that colour out. The other colours I'm going to be using, I do have them listed up on the screen very shortly, but we're pretty much, I'm going to lose it a little bit, so we can talk about it here. Things like amber and oak. Oak, I think, was the one that I used for their tummies and just to have a little bit of a softer color. As I mentioned, the dark chocolate, which is 193 is going to be pretty much used very, very sparingly. So it's going to be like with the bear, it's going to be up into the corners where the arms meet the scarf, for example, but ever so slightly, because you can always add more in later. You just can't take it away, because this an Inktense pencil, once it's dried, that's it. That's all there is to it. This little reindeer, or deer, whatever he is going to be called, I do a couple of mistakes. I'm going to tell you, I'll do a couple of mistakes on his scarf, right where the other scarf is. Can you tell? No, so don't stress. Don't stress. I am going to put a little bit of water on it. I'm going to try and dab it a little bit. But you know that once these dry, there's no lifting it. So we're going to hide it, and it's a tiny little area, so we don't need to worry about it. The one thing I'm going to tell you is cheeks are, well, it's not the only thing I'm going to tell you, but the cheeks I'm going to be using. Now, once again, I'm going to tell these names really badly. Charmaine Pink, which is 520. This is Poppy Red, and it is way, way, way too bright for the bunnies. He looks like he's got a bleeding ear. I'm going to play with him. The bear, I use it ever so slightly, like I'm going to do with the chocolate brown. This had a little bit more because we had the headphones sitting over the top of it. So I'm going to go in with amber, which is 1710. And in the end, I do actually, because it's red, right? So with color correction and color theory, you're going to need a little bit of green to mute it down to become a little bit more brown. So it is going to be ever so slightly, just that brownish sort of color. And I'm going to be using it ever so tiny little bit. So you can see here all the other colors that I've used. As I said, this is not so much me trying to teach you how to do Inktense pencils, which I use it, but this is so more so of me just getting the feel, because it's been way too long between playing with Inktense pencils. You know, we had the holiday, we moved house, everything got packed away. These were one of the things that did not stay out for me to play with. So I'm hoping between the three of them you can sort of see a little bit of variation. It's not as much as I would like, but the aim of the game is basically, I don't know whether it's aim of the game, but persevere until you are happy or in a position. It may not be where you decided that where you wanted it to be. This is chocolate brown also with the bunny to try and darken him up a little bit, and you can see my water there on the side. So I have 2 bowls of water. I have one that you can see that is just clean water, and the other one that you can't is all the goopy stuff. The tan I use on his bellies, on the bellies, and the top little reindeer parts ever so slightly. I do have a list for all the other colors, so pretty much dark chocolate is also going to be the coffee cups as well. So it's the coffee cups, the scarves, the headband, headphone, and not the earmuffs. That's the word. Earmuffs. So it's poppy red, which is 400, Shiraz, which is 600, and mauve, which is 740. And I do list those colors when we get up to them as well. So they're going to be in between. The snout of the bear is going to be chocolate brown. You can see there I put a little bit of the green, tiny little bit of the green in the rabbit's ears, just to tone that down a little bit. And then I was happy with that, so it's good. I'm trying to give the scarf a little bit of movement and I'm not fussing with it too much whatsoever. I didn't want to. I just wanted to sit there and play, but I turned on the video and I got engrossed. Hence, you are going to be losing some of the colouring, but hopefully you've seen enough to get the idea. And as I said, it's not a teaching sort of video so much. It's just like, come colour with me. Let's get goodness me, what's the word? Reconnected is not the word, but we're going to use that for time being because I can't think of the other word. It's okay. With our Inktense pencils, so I've die cut out of the biggest, the concave rectangle. We're going to foam mount this little baby up. The snow one like you is going to be stamped on the same grey cardstock that I used for the backing, which I think was basic grey, with a little bit of white embossing powder just to give it heaps of lift. And I am going to stamp that down quite a few times because it's the first time I've used it, and I wanted to make sure it stamped properly. I am going to cut this out with the strip dies from Paper Rose. It just gives it a nice clean edge, and it's so itty bitty. It was just going to be easy to do that. That is just going to, we're going to trim that off at an angle and mount him up. And it's almost going to be it. I'm not worried about this being angled like the same angle as the concave rectangles. You could do that, of course, but I don't think it's a big major deal. Just got to make sure he's flat. What I was thinking later on, what would look really cool is a background stamp on the grey cardstock. But I really wanted just this plain and simple. As I said, it was me playing. What I do have is a little bit of Stardust Stickles and just doing 3 little dots on either side of my panel. And that's it. So I hope you're well. I hope you like what you see, and let me know what you are playing with. Take care. Bye.